Hey guys, welcome back to Musings of Mavri, where we are continuing our rewatch of Bang Dream Season 1. I'm your host Mavri, and today we're going to be looking at Episode 9. So, the Season 2 anime of Bandori is almost out. There's less than a day now before its official release date. Currently, still not quite sure on what this simulcasting status is. I know that it's been picked up by Sentai Filmworks, so theoretically, it should be simulcasted to Crunchyroll and High Dive, although there has been no further updates up till now. So probably we might have some delay, I'm guessing, but in any case, I do think that eventually the series will be brought out and then we can properly watch it. But in the meantime, we're still going to continue with our Bandori Season 1 rewatch. So we just finished Saya's arc, so right now we are going to go into the final arc, or final two arcs, however you want to look at it, I guess. In any case, that's enough talking. Let's get right into it. So starting in 3, 2, 1, play. So again, since this is a rewatch, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna going to catch myself from spoiling anything. We can just freely discuss the episode. So this is the start of the arc where Kasumi loses her voice, right? And it's I guess it isn't my favorite arc here, but it is kind of fun to see Kasumi within her more reserved self. Okay, hold that thought. Let me skip this opening first. And we are back. I got a job. The bane of every musician. Once you go into a music or instrument shop, you want to buy everything. I find it hard to believe that she never brought a drum kit back to, before when she was already playing in a band. Shouldn't you be able to do that with all the electronic drums? I'm not a drummer, by the way. Like I know guitar, bass, I know piano, violin, but drums are something that I have never touched before. But I was of the impression that all electric drums could change their sounds. Holy crap. Nice translation. True. And the student discount turned out to be like 1% off. Something that doesn't really get carried over into the translations is how the members of Poppin' Party have a habit of shortening what they are trying to say. So, kuraren, warehouse practice, if you really want to translate it, it might be something like wereprac, right? Or like in this case, Poppin' Party was shortened to Popipa. So this is something that's not really carried over within the translations, and I just wanted to point that out. I like how they also have a spare amp lying around. Like seriously. Like this is something this is a more fitting translation. Bear dream. They should have at least have like 15 seconds of them playing. Like, come on, you already have the entire song. Not just one, all. Yeah, see, the whole staff. Show must go on. And yeah, oh yeah, we have a appearance of Rosilia, even though they're still not quite their game selves, I guess. They're such good kids, right? I mean, they're basically working for free, and the only repayment they get is they get to watch the live, right? And that's worth like what, 600 yen? Right, that's definitely less than minimum wage. But for reals though, running a live house is hard. Like here in my city, a lot of music live houses have been closing one by one, and it's getting harder and harder for bands to find places to play at. True. Well, Kasumi's the only one that's playing around. Glitter Green, aka Milky Holmes. 'Like, is it that hard to tell? Come on, guys. Oh, and yeah, space is closing down. And yeah, Arisa has a girl crush on the student council president, which we reference a little later. That's such a generic way of saying stuff. And hey, Roselia! Even though their art is a little... At least their characters are in personality, although their artwork is really a little hard to look at. Also, I love how Kasumi introduces herself as Popipa, as if somebody else would know what Popipa stands for. I agree. Seriously though, it's pretty cheap if you think about it. Like, let me think, what is the, 150, that's like, what, $10 for a drink and a live band performance? That's cheap. Although I guess they don't, she doesn't have to pay the bands. Like, I doubt the bands are receiving anything. Look at Saya's clothes. Like seriously, probably the the biggest criticism I would have about the artwork would be how Roselia was drawn. They really don't. I mean, okay, in this scene it seems okay. It's also kind of debatable whether Roselia are really in character here. Like Lisa crying over not giving a 100% performance, and then Yukina and Sayo comforting her, right? Because this should be sometime fairly early from when Roselia were formed. But, nah. We've already had cameo appearances of Ran and Kawaru and Chisato and the rest of those, so it is what it is. Their depictions in the OVA would be much more closer to canon, I guess. I will be doing the OVA too, by the way. Oh, come on, you want to go up. No, seriously. Like, again, I've already commented on the speed of progression that they've had, so I'm not gonna repeat it again, but honestly, there shouldn't be a way that they're good enough. I mean, of course, they weren't good enough here, but even, within 3 episodes, 4 episodes time, when they performed at the ending performance of Space, or the closing performance of Space. I wonder if actually the seiyus recorded this, deliberate performance where they're obviously playing out of sync with each other. Yeah. And so that was episode 9. Uh, there's only one thing I want to talk about other than what I already commented within the episode. As I said, most I guess the biggest criticism I have about this episode, and I guess of this series, a big criticism of this series in general is in the animation, right? So the Roselia here were definitely not in their best form, right? But again, I can kind of look aside that those kinds of things. It's still an enjoyable story and an enjoyable anime series overall. Like I'm not too hung up on that. The thing that I do want to kind of talk about is, I guess, in the closing moments of this episode, where the owner was basically asking whether they gave their all, and Kasumi was the only one who raised her hand. Now, this is something that I guess kind of confuses a lot of people, and it initially confused me as well at first. You know, what exactly this whole arc in regards to Kasumi losing her voice is all about. Um, Especially like when she says, "Did you give your all?" and when Kasumi responded with yes, you know, what was it? What is it that the owner does not like? It's obviously not something just in regards to playing ability, even though they played right like crap. But still, that's not the only factor, right? As we know in the end, where like groups like Chispa also passed the audition. So I think there's some interesting dynamic here. Like when Kasumi hears, this is a little bit of theorizing, right? When Kasumi hears "Have you done your all?" in her mind she has, and I really do believe that she has given her all to the best of her knowledge, right? So that's the big condition there. She has given her all, but it's only to the extent of what her knowledge has taught her, which is I need to practice myself. I need to practice my guitar, my singing, to make sure that it's as good as I can get. And I do believe that. She probably used all of the remaining free time she had um, practicing the guitar and practicing her vocals. Probably she did something like that. But I feel like what the owner here is trying to say when later on, I'm kind of spoiling the next episode, but as I said, this is a rewatch, so I'm not too concerned with that. When the owner says that she's the one, Kasumi is the one who is lacking the most, definitely it's not just her own musical abilities, right? I do believe that she's actually talking about her abilities as a leader, the leader of this group. Um, Especially because, you know, in this scene, all four of the others were not able to say that they give it their all, right? And there is a big difference between practicing hard and practicing and giving your all, right? That's the difference between, say, after school, I'm going to practice my instrument for 3 hours or 4 hours per per day, and I'm gonna do all the scales, all the music that I want to play, and so on and so forth. There's a difference between that, which is hard work, and the difference between every single minute, every single second that I'm thinking about how I can improve better, what I can do, am I searching out for any alternative methods to improve my way of playing, or am I just doing the usual, you know, I let's call it 9 to 5 work, right? It's just scheduled work. So there's a big difference there. And obviously, or not obviously, but what I feel the owner is trying to say is Kasumi, as a leader, should have been able to inspire her band members to also give their all. Which, again, we kind of see that in the later episodes, right? Although, rewatching this scene, so I've rewatched this series many times already, and every time I get here, I'm always thinking of one thing. What would the owner have said if all 5 of them raised their hands and said that they gave their all? Would she have let them pass? Or would she still think that, okay, so even though you gave your all, it's still not enough, and you need to improve your instrument skills? Because it's hard to say, right? Like, there is a certain level, I guess, you need to meet with your instrument playing, but definitely your ability and your technique is not the only factor in regards to you being able to form here. So, I know, it's just an interesting thought discussion, I guess, on what would actually happen. But, yeah, enough of this episode. I will talk a little bit more in the next one and the one after that, where we dive in a little bit more to their inner worlds and their inner problems. So, anyways, that has been Bandori Season 1, Episode 9, and I'll see you guys next time.